The Hobbyist's son, Raymond, was 6 years old. His mother was folding laundry and watching a classic comedy film from her childhood starring Gene Wilder. It was a black and white film she really enjoyed, and Raymond was used to the modern day colors of animated movies and television shows. It would be another 4 years before he would learn to appreciate things. His older sister was in college, and the dog was supposed to stay outside, the poor thing. Raymond put on his shoes and hung out with the dog in the backyard, which was chewing on some cables that his father had installed recently. Raymond was too little to know how important those cables were to his father. Those cables hooked them up to a new invention, a new phenomena known as the World Wide Web. His father would be upstairs only at night to talk to strange women he would laugh and flirt with. Raymond wasn't allowed out of his room, and he told Raymond's mother that he was in business meetings. In fact, he had similar rules during the day that would disallow Raymond or his mother to bother him then as well. For during the day, he would work tirelessly on a project that no eyes were allowed to see. It was a Friday. Raymond got picked up from his grandparents 2 hours earlier and had nothing to do, really. His toys grew old quick, and he couldn't really read anything entertaining or watch anything. The dog kept chewing and chewing, ignoring his 6-year-old master, who decided to go off into the woods. But right before he was supposed to do so, his father found him and the dog. He had a gun in his hand. He reached for the dog's scruff, and Raymond looked the other way, crying, and his father's gun exploded 3 times. Raymond ran off scared into the woods, crying and traumatized. He wished he could understand. However, at his age, he had no clue as to how, why these events came to be. He came back home crying in his fort near the creek, where he kept a collection of rocks and stones he liked very much. And as he returned home, he noticed the front door was locked and the dog was still alive, hiding in the backyard. Raymond's parents began to argue loudly, throwing around the word divorce and drunk and other nasty choice words. His father kept explaining upstairs that he only wanted to scare the dog, and he was mad and that he was sorry. The mother looked at him with anger that surpassed all words. Raymond had no choice but to sneak through the basement and go upstairs. Now, past the washer and dryer, there was a lot of junk and tools. There was a whole room-sized area on the other side. A large table or platform lifted it all up. It was a model of a whole town, Raymond's town to be exact. There were trees cut out of tin, miniatures of people and animals of all sorts, little roads and model cars. The grandest part of the whole village on the table was the model train set which circled around the village. "What are you doing down here?" His father ran towards him and grabbed him by the shirt and added, "Are you trying to break my things?" "I didn't touch anything, Dad, I promise." "You're not allowed down here in the first place." He ended his sentences with full fury, shouting way louder than he should. Raymond cried and went upstairs. His mother fed him some noodle soup, and they watched The Lion King together. She tucked him in his bed and read him The Hungry Caterpillar. She always asked him to explain the story to her, and she would fill him in on anything he missed before pulling out another book. The next morning after breakfast, the mother and father were fighting again. How can you never listen to me?"
"How can you never listen to me?"
the father said back to Raymond's mother in a childish, mocking tone. Raymond heard something break, and instantly heard words his mother spoke that he would never forget. I curse you and this whole town. You're all the same ignorant, inbred imbeciles. I'm sick of you. I'm getting a divorce. You can say goodbye to this family, mister. Goodbye, his father returned. Raymond couldn't help but cry a bit and hope for his mother's safety. Raymond didn't believe in a God or a prayer or anything like that, even at the age of 6. He had his reasons, though. The day went on with them arguing and Raymond hiding somewhere else. Just around lunchtime, his mother fed him some bologna sandwiches, and his father slammed the door to the basement, hollering and breaking things along the way. Raymond heard an explosion in the distance off into the woods. His mother wondered if that was the rock quarry about a mile south of them, near the garbage dump, but something inside her knew her words could be special. She knew it was no rock quarry. Raymond went off to play the next morning because it was snowing. He went into the woods after building a snowman and decided to go over the hill to the train track on the other side. Once he reached the top, he saw the strangest thing in his short little life. A train had derailed upward into a spiral, along with some rails being mangled and twisted like copper wires, and half of the trees in the woods had been cut in half with broken tops as if some kind of invisible aircraft had landed on them. Raymond guessed that the explosion noise from the day before was all of this. He started back home to tell his mother. He saw so many disfigured and mangled animals along the way back. Nothing made sense. His mother was found crying on the porch next to her mother-in-law, who was comforting her. Raymond figured now wasn't the time to tell her about the derailed train. He went to his room and played with his stuffed animals and put on a puppet show for them all, lined up in his room to resemble an audience. He fell into a deep sleep. He remembered seeing the door to the basement, which stood at the end of the kitchen. He saw a window in this spot instead. Inside of this foggy dream, when he looked out this window, he saw a burning village. It had men in hooded robes and lines, carrying heavy loads, and they were all chained together. His mother woke him up because it was 7 p.m. and he had slept too long. The dream was so real to Raymond that he forever, for the rest of his life, counted it as a memory. The next morning, with his father gone, he snuck down to the basement. His father had a stack of records he left behind. That would someday affect Raymond's music taste later in life. However, it wasn't the records that Raymond noticed at all this day. The model village was completely destroyed, model train and cars and all. Raymond was a bit sad, but also appalled at his own father's rage. And that was the challenge that Raymond had for the rest of his life, ending the cycle he inherited from his father, the cycle of violence and rage, fury and contempt.